What does your pursuit of certain players at the top end of the market say about what Padres' direction is?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we've talked about it. If in general, it's you have a targeted list of guys. I mean, I think two players that we've met with, obviously here in the last few weeks, they're two of the best players in the game. And ultimately we think we have a really good team, a team that can play in the postseason. And anytime you get an opportunity to at least sit down with two of the best, that doesn't come off. Guys of that caliber in free agency, you don't see that every season. So I think we talked about it as a group, and we felt like we just wanted to sit down and at least have those conversations. We did that, and ultimately didn't sign either player. But I think it's just more a matter of exploring guys that are elite players.
What else, or what did you accomplish?
I mean, again, I think going into a lot of these things, you're not gonna every time there's hundreds of conversations that go on throughout the off season. So some are public, a lot are private. I think from our standpoint, a lot of times it's getting to know and trying to see if there's a fit there, amongst the player and amongst the organization. And then obviously financially if there's going to be a fit. So, I think from our standpoint, you want to explore and make sure we're looking at every possible opportunity to get better. And, we've got a real desire to win and do it for a long time. And, I think that's just part of our due diligence and part of our process.
With what you know now on Aaron Judge, do you guys think you had a real chance to sign him? Or was that more about his leverage to drive up the price for the Yankees?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think obviously we took a we took a meeting and sat down because we felt like we wanted to hear more and have him hear more about our situation. So, exactly how it played out. We never really got an opportunity to kind of find out a lot more. So I think from that standpoint, ultimately sat down, had a conversation, but he made a decision here early this morning to go back to the Yankees.
Did those talks start? Did those talks start after you was on trade Tritter, or have you been planting the seeds with Judge's camp earlier?
Yeah, it was something honestly in the last few days. Like we sat down, and I think we didn't really, ultimately I don't think we really. Yeah, I think we thought it was him going back to New York felt like something that was at least from our evaluation, we thought that was probably something that was likely. And I think in the last couple of days, I reached out to his agent and just went to Paige and just said, hey, what's going on? And is he interested in talking a little bit? And he was interested, and he came in. We had the meeting, and ultimately, woke up this morning. And he was, he'd already made a decision to sign with the Yankees.
At any point yesterday, did you think it was a possibility that he'd come here?
No, I mean, honestly, I think it was just a situation to find it. We went into that meeting just open-minded, kind of seeing what was going to happen, and I think went in that meeting, I think from both sides, just kind of see, hey, is there, just kind of talk about our situation, what we're looking to do, hear what may be important to him, and really didn't progress much past that.
What are you even out in search for a bat, and the fact that you're in on those two guys kind of leave anything's possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are two pretty unique players, that don't get to the market very often. Those are MVP caliber, guys that are kind of the top of the food chain in terms of where they're at from a star power position player standpoint in the big leagues. So, yeah, we've got a few different things that we're talking about. I think we've kind of. You're always going down different paths at this time of the year. Nothing's really changed. You kind of, wake up and now we're onto a different option, and we'll see if we can line up to add another hitter and look at some pitching as well.
How does the prevalence of shortstops on this market, really high end, good shortstops, and maybe the lack of some corner outfield that you mentioned you needed a corner bat? How does kind of that juxtaposition play into what you guys are searching for?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. It's having some the position players and like you mentioned, shortstops that can play some different spots. It's not. I mean, I've been asked this a little bit over the last 24 hours. We're not looking for a shortstop. It's not the point of this. I mean, we obviously with Kim, Cronenworth, Machado, Tatis, we've got really, really talented infielders, and we've got guys on our roster that can play different spots. And at least with in Trey Turner's situation, he can play. He can play a lot of different positions on the field. So I think we looked at that as the ability to add a quality position player. And I think we're going to continue doing that in the next couple of weeks.
Is there value in, you were talking about the value of meeting with the players, is there value in the message it sends to prospective players that you're talking about the aggression level of this club and how hard you guys are working to be better? Is there a value in sending that message out to the sport?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not trying to hey, it's not about ultimately sending a message or winning on that front. It's about getting a good player and getting the quality guys to come play for the Padres. I think the risk of it obviously is it kind of looks at well, you're just in on every player. Who's the next guy? And then when you don't sign the player, I think hey, what's wrong with the situation or the. Honestly, I think we understand that going down that path. We understand hey, the perception of what it may look like, but I think. We also, for us, the value of sitting down, seeing what's possible, seeing what may be out there, just doing our due diligence, our homework to see if it lines up. I think that part for myself, Peter, Josh, the whole group, that's at least in this case with these two players, we valued that more so than understanding that maybe these are long shots, for different reasons, but we wouldn't take the meeting if we thought there was no chance, and ultimately that's what we came out with. No, I think when we looked at the market, we knew it was going to be really aggressive, just because you can tell. It's just everything's like a moment in time. A few years ago, when we went after Manny and Harper and some of the things we did, I think there was a lot of chatter, about hey, it was the right time for the Padres. Should we wait a few more years till we were a little more competitive? I think that moment in time, one, they were great players that were that were right in the prime of their careers. But two, I think we looked at it as there just there weren't as many teams that for whatever reason the competitive cycle that were really involved from that standpoint. Right now, I think it's just kind of the way it is. Like whether it's ownership, whether it's teams that fell short in the playoffs, teams that did well in the playoffs, teams that are ready to take a step from maybe a 3 or 4 or 5 year rebuild. You look up and there's very few teams right now that are looking to take a step back. Almost everybody's looking to advance forward, and I think that along with some really quality players is probably why it's a very aggressive market.
Given your current payroll of star players you have in this roster, how much of this chase, this pursuit of Judge and Turner was about the uncertainty of Tatis when he comes back and the possibility that Manny could opt out after next season?
I think you factor everything in. I think the biggest thing we looked at, though, again, is I think you want to have your plan for next year and have how does that fit for next year, and then you're always constantly evaluating that versus over the next 5 years. And I think we kind of factored everything in. I think the biggest thing was you just feel like similar to Manny and Harper a few years ago, they're just elite players and elite talent. That's hard to get those guys in the market that we like, that we think are going to be good for a while. So. I think we definitely factor, kind of that the different things that may come up in the next year, understanding that, you have the opt-out situation with Manny, Toddy coming back from missing the season, factor all that in. I think the biggest thing was just trying to get, we're trying to see what that right blend is and just excitement of adding another player or two to the current nucleus that we have.
When you met with Kodai Senga, what factors did he say was most important when he selects a team?
Yeah, probably not getting into too many, but that's probably more of a question for him. I think, I think again, he's a very accomplished pitcher. That's, I think he was very familiar with, I think familiar with his time. He's been in the States before, so I think he has some feel for what's important to him from a pitching development standpoint. He's been part of a winning team, in Japan, so I think he knows what that feels like. But I think that's more of a question for Senga and his camp in terms of what the fits are and what he's looking to do.